I'd say the most significant issue has to be the economy. I think that's going to be what drives most decision making at the polls. Um, I think honestly, I think that's why this is so competitive. I think on most public opinion polling scorecards, you see Mitt Romney, for the most part. Although some polls conflict with this general sentiment, but for the most part, Mitt Romney is given higher ratings on how you might expect that he would handle the economy versus the president. And whether that's true or not remains to be seen. But I think he seems to have an edge there, and that's what's drawn him so close to the president. I think in terms of the overall election. So that's big. Wherever each individual voter stands in terms of how they see the economic situation and who's best equipped to handle the next 4 years, that's probably going to be the most significant factor. Some other things, though, that I think are interesting as far as this election is concerned is that the Electoral College makes a big difference. Really what we have is a battle down to the swing states, which is pretty typical of the last several election cycles. But again, we're looking at Ohio, we're looking at states like Iowa, and it's a close election because you even have both candidates focusing their attention on New Hampshire. Small number of Electoral College votes, but they're actually making their presence known in these smaller states. Wisconsin is another state that's really going to be a significant battleground state. Florida, Virginia, some of the other big ones. So I think election night, anyone who is tuned into politics is going to be watching those states, county by county, and I think anyone who can knock off Wisconsin, Ohio, either one or both, is probably going to be the next president. I guess the only other thing that's going to drive, well, two other things in terms of demographics, what's going to drive the eventual winner is going to be where independents fall and also how big the gender gap is. That's gotten a lot of attention. President Obama, I would say 2 months ago, had a huge margin of favorability in terms of the woman vote. That gap has shrunk significantly, although I think the president still enjoys a lead as far as that's concerned. And then, of course, Governor Romney enjoys a lead among men. Wherever that shift ends up on Election Day might have a significant impact in terms of the winner, but also the independent vote. Republicans typically going to vote Republican, Democrats typically going to vote Democrat, at least in this election cycle. And so once again, it comes down to the independent voter, that narrow slice of the electorate. So far, Governor Romney seems to be taking the majority of independents as far as public opinion polling, but that varies by state. And so it comes back to the Electoral College and who can get those critical states into their win column. And so those are probably the three factors. The economy certainly is the overriding factor. Those swing states as part of the Electoral College system, and then the gender vote, the gender margins, as well as the independent vote. I would say anyone who knows anything about the political landscape right now and has really looked closely at the polls would say it's too tough to tell. And so you have to go by gut. And, I don't think there's any statistical evidence that one side could put up against the other and say, hey, here's a clear answer. It's just way too close. And so anyone who's being truly honest and objective would have to say it's a toss-up. All right, and so that's my answer. It's a toss-up. However, if I were to go by my gut, and that's really all we can go by right now, I think we have to look at the importance of momentum. Governor Romney seems to have momentum. Although the numbers, again, getting back to whether we read the polls or trust the polls or what have you, it was clear that the president had a major advantage in some of the swing states, especially the Midwestern states, about 2 months ago. There was a major turnaround in that first debate, or following the first debate, major turnaround and a shift towards Governor Romney. There was a question as to whether or not that shift would be mitigated or, in fact, turned around after the second two debates. I think it was largely stalled, but it seemed to continue slowly in Governor Romney's direction. If that trend continues for the next 5 days, then I think Governor Romney is going to be the next president. All indications to me, as far as my gut tells me, is that momentum is still moving in his direction. And so going strictly on my gut and just what seems to be happening out there, I would say that Governor Romney might pull off a very narrow victory. But of course, that's based on no statistical evidence. That's just my reading of the tea leaves. And so I'm definitely open to the fact that I could be totally wrong. Either way, it's going to be a very close election. I think there's no doubt about that.